Okay, Martin.
Thank you, Gareth. Good to see you. Good to see. I've never met your mother. Good to see your mother here. I know she's a matriarch, so I suspect that she might come to this as well. And my interest in this isn't to rehash a case that will go to the courts. And you know where my sympathies lie. But actually, I think your evidence is of much more interest to the public than your case. But I need you to clarify something, because one of the things that does concern us greatly is the appointment process to the NI Advisory Committee for NAMA. And are you saying to me that when those appointments were made, no one did a Companies House search, spent £3, did a Companies House search against the board membership of Mr. Cttee NAMA, Mr. Roundtree, Mr. Cttee in this case, to check whether he was a director or shareholder in the companies which were in the Project Eagle portfolio? Because not only are you saying that apparently that didn't happen, so we talk about due diligence before these appointments were made by the Minister for Finance, Mr. Wilson, that no one checked if those going forward held shareholdings in the companies which were in the portfolio, because that of course would have precluded them. But you're saying something more than that. You're actually saying today that we've been here hearing evidence for months and months, or certainly for several months now, and you're saying that today Mr. Cttee is still a shareholder. Therefore, during his entire period on the NI Advisory Committee, you're saying he was a shareholder in a company which was in the NAMA portfolio.
That's correct.
I think that's...
Well, can that be proved? I mean, is it written? Register, is that...
If you go to Companies House,
it's there. Is it?
DFP, yeah, okay. Shareholder. It's on the annual returns go in every year. Shareholder on it.
Well, I suppose the broader point, and I want to take it back away from your case, is that, see, I agree with Mr. Wells exactly. Cerberus isn't the Salvation Army, and they pride themselves on their ruthlessness. My meeting also lasted 6 minutes, so that they'll be selling more assets on the basis that they're ruthless in their game is a term of praise. My meeting with them lasted 6 minutes, which was on constituency issues. And by the way, Mr. Coggle said at that meeting that he would never appear at this committee. At that time, he'd received his invitation, and I hope they've changed their mind on that, because I think they need to rebut some of the evidence here. But my interest isn't in the approach of Cerberus, but whether or not the Project Eagle portfolio should have been sold. And it seems to me that there was influence at the core of the Northern Ireland Advisory Committee on NAMA, which was influencing the sale, and facilitated and eased this sale and encouraged NAMA to make a sale. And in my view, that influence was nefarious. I suspect now that it's leading towards embezzlement and fraud, and that this Project Eagle portfolio should never have been sold in the manner it was sold, but it was sold because there were kickbacks, sweetheart deals, and it was a dirty scheme. Now, proof of that seems to me that in the case of the NI Advisory Committee, that when PIMCO, who were at one point an underbidder, that when they withdrew because they were told they would have to pay an additional payment to fixers here, and they wrote to the Northern Ireland Advisory Committee, which Gareth has just spoken about, that the Advisory Committee meeting insurance solicitors read this out from PIMCO saying we will not be involved with this deal because our due diligence people will not allow us, because it involves payments to individuals which are against the laws of our country. That Mr. Cttee was at that meeting, that meeting took place in Tunes, and NAMA were present. So we had NAMA, we had Tunes, we had the Northern Ireland Advisory Board representatives. That PIMCO say this is such a grave issue that we cannot proceed.
Mr. Chairman, this is all very interesting, but I fail to see where the question's coming.
No, well, the question's very obvious. The question is, why was Project Eagle sold to Cerberus? Why was that the strategy that we allowed to be adopted? And of course, it affects us on two bases. One, that value in good companies and long-standing entrepreneurial companies like the Grahams has been attacked and destroyed by Cerberus, but we've been destroyed by another company as well. But secondly, because we do not want the reputation as an area in which corrupt practices or embezzlement takes place. The Wall Street Journal was writing about this benighted part of the world in July about this case. because it has huge ramifications for how people perceive their ability to do business here. So regardless and beyond the fact that we hold everyone to rigorous lines of behaviour in business, it's really fundamental to us to find out what influence was brought to bear to encourage our government to be supportive of this sale, because it seems to me that this sale was happened, and it happened in such a short period when PIMCO withdrew that Cerberus stepped up, that it was very damaging to us. And just to I suppose to ask the question, which is very relevant, is the reason we're here. If anyone in politics was involved in encouraging this deal for personal benefit, then it was an egregious conflict of interest, and it may or may not have been, it may or may not be a criminal matter. So my question to Mr. Graham is: were you aware at the time that when Mr. Cushnan was on the NI Advisory Committee to NAMA that he was considering your properties as well?
No.
So it wasn't at that time a matter of discussion or interest to you?
No.
When he resigned from the NAMA Advisory Committee, was working from Tunes again at that time, was he offering people advice on their dealings with NAMA?
I believe he was, yes.
So he had left your office at that time?
He had left our office at that time, and we hadn't had any dealings with him. We were regarded by NAMA, he told us, that we were the #1 Bank of Ireland NAMA borrower in terms of delivery and repayment. We had no concerns other than making sure that if somebody who was in an advisory capacity was able to whisper in somebody's ear, that it would have no effect, because our track record and our school report was absolutely unblemished. And that was the position we were in when our loans were transferred.
Well, I want to make no comment about your legal case, but I think it's beyond doubt that this sale stinks to high heaven, and we need NAMA, who have promised cooperation but won't appear. We need them to appear here and tell us why, when PIMCO withdrew and voiced real concerns about kickbacks and sweetheart deals and fixers, that they went ahead with this sale. And they need to come forward and tell us. They say there were 2 people still left in the bidding, Cerberus and Fortress. And I think we need some clarification from that. What was the Fortress bid? What was the nature of it? Were there really 2 bids still standing when this portfolio was sold to NAMA? But it's been a bad sale. It's clear it was a bad idea at the time. It was a bad sale. Should never have happened. And the consequences are being felt by good businesses, which have been put to the wall by Cerberus. And there could have been another way to resolve this and unwind this portfolio of 800 properties.